Good morning, all of you. I hope everybody is able to hear me. So, we from mElimu very thankful all of you for allocating your time today for this live webinar. We have been working since more than 5 years in Africa and have successfully implemented LMS in several universities and colleges in different parts of Africa. And after spending half of decade in Africa, as per our team research, I would say we are bringing the most key challenge of African universities and colleges. So in this webinar, we are trying to cover these all points where we have divided the webinar into 3 different parts. We have kept 10 minutes for talking about us. Then we will be talking more about challenges of universities and colleges. And then we will be talking about the negative cash flow, reasons and current scenarios as well. And then we have another 10 minutes where we will talk about solution and how we are using the best practices as well as the benefits. And then we have 5 minutes we have kept, that is fine. We can increase the time as well for question and answer round, where I would keep the channel open to all of you to raise your questions one by one, and we request all of you to keep noting down all your questions so that you guys, and in case have any questions, you can raise at the end of the webinar. So we have this is Pramil. My name is Pramil Verma, and I'm the general manager with having more than 16 years of experience. I'm taking care of complete Africa region and have significant experience in learning management system with the countries targeting almost US, UK, Africa, and other parts of world. I'm having Tushar with me, who is COO.
Hello all.
Yes, please, Tushar, go ahead. Give a bit brief about yourself as well.
Thank you, Pramil, for introducing our webinar. And as we go along, we'll share our experience in various universities that we work in. My personal experience has been in bringing technology solutions and in designing critical products. And one of the last slide, which is the best slide that we will go over, is providing our secret sauce to the universities why mElimu solution works in low bandwidth conditions. Thanks, Pramil. You may go over the problem statement in more details.
Thanks, Tushar. So we are going to the next slide, and we'll quickly, first of all, walk through the current challenges that universities of African are suffering with. We have to spend good time working with African universities and colleges, and we're just trying to list down quickly those business challenges and problems where we have seen technology limitation. Technology challenge is one of the area where most of the African colleges and universities are suffering with. As all of us know, that Africa is currently the fast developing continent, but still the universities and colleges are lacking with the technologies in different aspects of their processes. Even I would say most of the colleges still using traditional admission and form submission practices, their selection process, attendance system, timetabling, notices to student, as well as in teaching pattern and various others. We have identified another challenge is self-evaluation. Uh, it's though it's good to see that African colleges and universities are following still the um, traditional teaching pattern, but it is true as well that current competitive markets, students need to evaluate in between of the sessions to perform better in examinations. We have seen in this traditional teaching student, the self-evaluation is missing. Third is actually we have seen the collaboration where everybody knows that teachers and the students always being a strong relationship since education system started. But in current situation, due to lack of time, or I would say teachers have now more pressure and target to finish the courses within defined classes, and therefore unable to do those kind of collaboration. Those collaboration classes are not happening. It's now important to utilize your LMS to foster collaborative learning at the workplace. This is one of the another important we have seen the challenge student attrition rate. Student attrition rate is increasing day by day, and this becomes now one of the key challenge as well. Students who are looking for quality teaching and training and best practices have identified mostly leaving the program in mid of the session. Though there are other student reasons as well to leave this session, but it means your others, your most brightest students actually leaving the colleges in mid of the sessions. So we have found this missing as well, where such course compliance and quality should be monitored so that you can reduce the student attrition rate. We have identified another business challenge that is more in the colleges is user behavior and trending. Nobody is following up as well, where everybody knows education trend is changing very fast due to market demand, and therefore it's important for colleges to have proper analytics tool to track user behavior so that they must plan the future expansion and goal. I would say even the students know better which college they should take for certain course program, and we have seen that most of the colleges even don't know for what or which program they are famous for, or the interest of the student on of which programs or courses in your college. The last is one of the key business challenge where most of the colleges and universities are suffering with. Either we talk about mid part of the Africa or eastern or western part of Africa, that is fee collection, and that's why the negative cash flow is happening. This is one of the most important and bigger challenge in African colleges, and we therefore thought to bring out the more light in this problem and discuss the solution approach. So we'll discuss the cash flow and the fee collection current in this webinar, where everybody knows the importance of the cash flow, where either those are organizations or corporates or education industries, cash flow is very important for them, and there are importance being utilized for infrastructure, accordingly being targeted for marketing, or its salary and appraisals, the future goal and expansion, or there may be other operating expenses. Due to negative cash flow, these all get delays, and there are very few get achieved within that year or within that target of that is planned. We'll quickly go to this reason, that is, we have identified most of the colleges and universities um, where the LMS system, or in case if they are not having this system right now, so how they are working. So we have seen the student problems actually for not submitting the fees on time, where we have seen 45% of the students even not aware of the dates to submit the fee. We have seen that even some of the students who knows now that they need to submit the fees, those ratios are even 25% that we have shown in red. They do not even respond back. Then we have kept 25% students, those as well, who has other expenses, and they make more priorities paying those expenses rather than the college fees. And it is true as well, every parents of those students knows the fee of these colleges. They gave the fee to the student, but still student do not pay on time because they fulfill other expenses. I think they know that they are capable of convincing their management, their principal, the directors, to keep delaying the fee submission. Now, if you see the complete chart, there's only 5% students who are suffering with financial crisis who are not able to pay. Now, if we talk about the current status of the colleges and universities, the average that we came up after doing certain research and analysis, we have identified that almost there are only 50% students actually pay on time. There are students who actually pay big delay after giving lots of notices to them, and those ratios are still very less. Those are only 10%. And still there are 40% students who generally do not pay, who keep moving the dates. They keep submitting the requests to the principal and directors and school management to keep delaying their fee, or they do not pay the fee, or they switch, even they leave the sessions in mid. We would quickly go to the solution, how we can use an integrated LMS system to make this cash flow positive. And I'm going to give to Tushar to talk about and walk through the solution approach for SIM. Tushar is with you now.
Thank you, Pramil. Thank you, everybody. Just some housekeeping as well. We see that some people may have difficulty hearing. In addition to the web connection, you may also dial in associated phone numbers in case you have difficulty hearing. Uh, we will also share the recording of this webinar with everybody who participated, in case you missed out on some of the slides or discussion. And please do ask your questions in the chat window as we go along. In case we are not able to address them, we will address them separately with you. Um, Many of you may also not remember what mElimu stands for. mElimu stands for mobile education. M stands for mobile, and Elimu is a Swahili word for education. Uh, all the challenges that uh, Pramil mentioned, the quality of education, the students not paying on time, and inability for the university to collect uh, fees properly on time, they have compounded so much within our clients' universities, as well as many of the universities across sub-Saharan Africa, that the quality alone can determine the difference between one university versus the other. Uh, One should have quality content. Um, you may simply uh, wait for content to be created, or is content available on the internet that can be aligned with your curriculum. What we propose is a three-pronged approach for cash flow and cash flow collection. Uh, Number one, how do you attract your students? Number two, reminders that you could send to students. Uh, and number three, overall integration within the systems so that management knows which students have paid or not paid. Um, if the students are confirming and the students are joining and taking quizzes, assignments, and participating in forums and discussion with the lecturer, it is very likely that your data and your visibility into who is teaching and what they are being taught is is very clean, and you are not dependent on paper. As a as a step further, uh, after giving sufficient number of warnings and sufficient number of uh, instructions on payments, in case the students do not pay, in without without proper technology, most of the time we have seen management continuously sending notices and pasting these notices on notice boards, but that does not stop students from going to classes, and they continue to feel that it's not necessary to pay. It is, and they do not pay, and management has no way of stopping the actual learning for any of the students, and they continue studies until the exam. And at the exam, when universities are proctoring, they can ask students, you cannot sit for an exam without paying for the fees. And then most of the students who are interested and they found the program useful pay. Now what happened, universities spent money for the past 2 3 months, and a student decided to pay or not pay just before the exam. um, by bringing the technology in the play, students do not have to make that choice at the end. They have to make choice as they go along. Ramil, next slide, please. How do you motivate? And this is all based on data. This is we have some questions on the chat, and I will answer them as we complete the question that came out. Does mElimu need to be integrated with other existing modules, like in our case, the accounting module, or is it a package? So, mElimu will be integrated with your ERP system or accounting package. mElimu does not come with accounting package. Uh, that is the answer to our participant. Um, so, question that was asked is very relevant. Um, let me show this slide. This is the crux of our academic ERP, or um, the overall how it encourages students. So I'm all these numbers, percentages that you are seeing, most of the students, what we have noticed, if management is able to send notifications to students, half of the students end up paying fees. They just don't have many easy ways of payment, And some of the university partners that we have seen, they send notifications via SMS, and but that SMS goes to everybody, every student, even if they have paid, and that notification sometimes can be annoying. But within the technology realm today, you could generate and send notifications uh, which are relevant, and they also provide details of payment modes, balances, and details of the student on their screen. And in my next screen you will see how the notifications are being sent. The second uh, second uh, statistics that we saw, 20% of additional 20% of the students paid when they were given reminders both via email and on their mobile phones. These are sound reminders, and using beeps and other notifications and reminders, students felt that it is important for them to pay. And finally, uh, when the alert was sent, look, your learning was is gonna be discontinued. Um, Another 15% paid, and final alert gave that tomorrow is your last day and better pay. Those warnings ended up collecting 95% of the fees on time, and remainder of the 5% uh, really paid by virtue of uh, their discussion with the management. Uh, since the technology allows for the details, management will be able to find out within seconds that these 5% students have not paid, and they engaged via counselor uh, with these students and work out other payment plans. Next slide, please. I'll read the question as well, the second question that came about. Uh, mElimu does not uh, provide billing module. You will continue to bill in other systems. For example, in some of the universities in East Africa, we have integrated with M-Pesa and the accounting system. Accounting system uh, allows your university to um, manage billing, payroll, and other details. mElimu provides academic side. Again, the majority of the uh, university participants that we have evaluated, they say that it is not about the policy of collecting fees. Practically every university I have gone personally has notices around fees collection, but it is about the implementation of that policy where we have made a difference. This is the pie chart that shows exactly what I showed in the previous slide, where you can see the delay of payment and how delay of payment of 45% of the students reduces to actually just a few percents, where even after the final alert, a student did not pay. And that number is easily manageable. So how do the alerts work? Now, remember, mElimu works on mobile phones and smartphones. So even if your university does not have sufficient number of computer labs, they will still be able to participate in assignments, quizzes, and forums on their phone. So as the lecturer is going to the classroom, they will send a message, they will send a, a forum, they will initiate discussions uh, on phone. Every student brings their own smartphones, and that reduces the cost for the university as it is. The messages and assignments, if they have paid on time, it doesn't show any issue. But if they have not paid, their learning is blocked with the, as you can see on my screen, their learning is blocked with a reminder and message. That's um, eh, pretty difficult for the students to avoid, because every time they will try to learn, they will they will see this message and their learning will not continue. Now, let's put a contrast. What happens today versus what we propose with technology and our university clients are using. Today, in the current scenario, when you do not have um, learning management system, or specifically the type that allows uh, ability for students to stop learning, is very important. When they do not have, a student did get the assignment as a paper copy. They had participated in the discussion. So, other than the moral obligation of the student, there was really nothing else that motivated them to pay the university until the a day before the exam. Because at that point, university had the sheet and that you put together for the students uh, to come online. Now, one question which is very important that came about, is it only for online students? No, no, that is not true. Most of the benefits that our university clients are receiving is for regular students, face to face. Face to face students are going to um, benefit significantly, and that's where uh, the challenge is. Online students, you can always cut off their learning very easily. Your systems allow that. But for in person, somebody is going and walking in the class, how do you stop them without confronting them? And confrontation of the students is really not wise, because that leads to unruly behavior, and who will really stop them from coming to the class? But technology can allow all the messaging as well as block their learning. Even teachers uh, cannot uh, provide them any grace period or specific benefit, even if they wanted, because at the central university level, you can decide that every student should pay 15% of the fee on day one, 25% of the fee after 2 weeks, and remainder within a month. If you implemented this policy using mElimu, you will be able to uh, get revenues on time, and students will be motivated, because they have to make a choice on day one. Do they want to continue or not? It will not be about moral obligation, it will be about the necessity. Um the the question about uh, applicability of online students is very important. If students are, let's distinguish between online and uh, regular students. Most of the universities believe that technology is only needed for students who are uh, not in the campus and being taught through internet. That is not true. Most important benefit is the cash flow, in addition to other implicit benefits such as uh, quality of learning, data analytics around what students are liking or not liking, and eventually reducing the cost of education. So I give an example. Uh, Today, if your teachers are being paid and you pay them 7 hours per unit in a week, and they go to the classroom only 3 hours, and remaining 4 hours are for office hours or for grading or interacting with the students, those hours can be made more efficient by bringing technology in place. I'm towards the end of uh, my uh, presentation, so we will encourage questions. Please do raise hands if you would like to ask a question. Um, Go ahead and introduce yourself and ask questions so that we can answer. If you put in your chat message that you would like to ask a question, we will unmute yourself. And before going to my final slide, I thought it is a good idea to discuss any of your questions. John? John, if you are interested in asking a question, please go ahead. You had some questions on chat. Another question that came out here was, I think I discussed it briefly, that our university does not have labs. Then how could we include a learning management system for our students in regular learning or face-to-face learning? That is a good question. With After this slide, I'll address that question. Um, Number one, mElimu works in an offline manner. So what have been the challenge of rolling out any technology for students is one that you just asked, which is students do not have the ability to go to the labs because university does not have sufficient number of labs. And the second issue was the students do not have internet. They do not have any money to buy uh, bundles and bundles of internet. And the third issue that we have seen is, even if they did have internet and even if university had computers, there was a lack of electricity for the students to um, when they were learning, they didn't have uh, uh, sufficient number of hours left to study. While that is true, mElimu works offline, 100% offline, including quizzes and assignments on the mobile phones. You may uh, work in a situation where you may synchronize with the cloud uh, and continue to study and participate on your smartphones. And remember, it is a cloud solution, so it does not really depend on the electricity and internet bandwidth of your campus either. Most of the Western countries, you will see that the even houses receive internet speeds of 150 megabytes, but in the parts where we operate in sub-Saharan Africa, from uh, South Africa, even in South Africa, uh, think about Nigeria, Ghana, uh, Kenya, Uganda, most of the universities per student bandwidth is less than 10 kbps. I'm not sure that number is making sense, but it says 100 megabyte connection is good for 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 students, which is very little. Our technology setup is hybrid CDN. And what hybrid CDN means is part of the part of the system is installed locally in your campus, and most of the technology sits in international cloud. So what is the difference? We could have set it up in your uh, campus as well, but there are three scenarios. A student is either within the campus or they stepped out of the campus. So you could keep the servers within the campus, then you will have difficulty uh, handling the students when they are out of the campus. If you had put the servers in the cloud, then you would have difficulty handling the students within the campus. You will have to buy more and more bandwidth. But in this case, as the students go in and out of the campus, the content serves from the server appropriate to them, and that reduces the cost of internet bandwidth significantly, because when they are within the campus, they are using local area network, even when they have accessibility via Wi-Fi on their smartphone. And the minutes or seconds after they step out of the Wi-Fi network to, say, their mobile network, it downloads content or interacts with the international cloud, and that doesn't impact the bandwidth of the system. So finally, uh, Pramil,
A question here. I have a
Pramil,
question.
please go ahead.
My name is Noru. I'm calling from Papua New Guinea in South Pacific. University of
How are you?
Technology in the South
Mhm.
Pacific. I have two questions. One, is it possible to have this LMS operational if the student is offline? Will we still be able to switch him or her off in case he hasn't complied with fees? Two, will we need an additional server to host within the campus, or it will be hosted on your own? I mean, off in the cloud, purely.
I may. Thank you. What's your name, sir? I missed your name.
Tindi, Dr. Tindi Seje.
Tindi.
Dr.
So,
Tindi, oh, yes.
Dr. Tindi, thank you. That was a good question. So, number one, yes. So, let's say student does not come online. The algorithm at the time of beginning of the learning is built in the software. So based on the dates, the notifications will be enabled. You are not sending a notification from the server. So I am, as a student, say, downloaded your quizzes and assignments on the day one of the semester, and 1 month later I decided that I'm not going to connect to the internet, but my algorithm is already built in within the mobile phone, so it will automatically stop working offline. So they don't need to connect to the internet uh, to be disabled. Number two, the second question that you had
Okay, okay.
about the servers, we mElimu sits in international cloud. What it means, it has elastic clouds where all the applications are available. But based on your campus setup, um, we will host the content or one CDN server within your campus, so that all the students and faculty and teachers and lecturers, as they are accessing the servers from the campus, they don't have to pay or worry about slow internet connectivity, because they are only utilizing the local server. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And it just raised some small question here. What about content creation? I can see there is easy content creation, but will it then in make the lecturers themselves develop content to upload in the system? Then, is there provision for evaluation of lecturers in the system? Because I can only see student self-evaluation. Do we have a platform where students can evaluate the lecturers' productivity or teaching potentials?
Yes, that is part of the system, and not only evaluation by the students on specifics, since there is uh, data or analytics created at each step. You could get data on teachers' productivity or lecturers' productivity at all levels. Like some of our clients like to even see how much time lecturer is spending on answering questions, because the reality is you ask me question once and I don't answer, you may ask me second time, but if you don't hear from me, you will stop asking. And that's what happens with the students. System allows you to monitor that. If the students are asking questions and lecturers are not responding, you can monitor that. If the students are um, uh, going to the class at 9 a.m. and lecturer is showing up at 9:15 and attendance does not start until 9:15, you can start asking these questions to the lecturer. Look, every time you go 15 minutes late, what is happening? You could, by virtue of just using the system, many data points, many analytics you can build in within the system itself.
So, Dr. Denge, within this two important part, one is course point that we have written, as well as the survey. So I think
Okay.
most your problem will going to be resolved from this course compliance, where the dean and the senior management can have eyes on each courses and programs those are running, and they can see whether how attentive the teachers or faculties are in teaching the student, because there are certain parameters that can be added by the dean of or head of department, and we can have a separate demo for you where you can have better idea in both the aspects to track the teachers and faculty, how performance, everything that can be tracked. Is there any
And
other questions?
um, thank you everybody for joining. Pramil, really appreciate you leading this call and this webinar. Uh, we it seems like there's another chat. Uh, 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 Kobe is asking a question that may be the last question, and then we can wrap up today. Please go ahead, Kobe. You may have to unmute yourself to ask this question, please. Kobe, if you can hear me, there is a uh, there's a mute green red button on the left, which looks like a mic. If you click on it, you can unmute yourself. You may type the question and we will read for you. It looks like your internet has difficulty.
Hello?
And by the way, yes, go
I
ahead.
think I got it now.
Go ahead.
Yes, Kobe, go ahead, please. We can hear you.
Yes. In universities where, well, in universities where we have mElimu and we are applying this fees tracking and blocking system, how do we stop students from benefiting from face-to-face teaching? Because I think we'll only be able to stop them from learning or send assignments, but they'll be able to attend regular classes. So how do we advise lectures?
It is a two-part question, Kobe. So number one, let's think about what happens in the classroom. So in the classroom, uh, in modern classroom, when lecturer comes in, they start with sharing content. You at the time of attendance, if the student is barred from even going in the attendance system because of integration with the financial system, then a student does not have any motivation to stay in the classroom. That's one, because most of the countries, there is some regulation that how many number of classes one has to attend to be able to participate in the exam. So even if they paid later, won't matter. So that's one. Number two, students, as they are going, even if they were sitting in the classroom and listening to the lecturer, that content is not very useful as it is. If you think about it, the same content is available on the internet. Most of the students go to the classroom for three or four reasons. The most important is to hang out with the friends, but other important reasons are they want to learn, interact in the uh, with the lecturer, get their questions answered. So all those will be blocked. So I would say if some student really want to go sit in the classroom with the reasons not known, they will still go without confronting with them. There's no way to remove them from the classroom, but their practical learning will be totally disconnected without payment to the university. Um, th- does that answer your question? So thank you everybody for joining. With that, we will close our webinar for today. Please do send any of your questions further uh, to us via email, or otherwise, if you have questions, you could always reach out to us as per your convenience. Um, the, the the team mElimu is always available. We in touch with the recording of this session as well. Thanks. Bye bye.
Thanks, all of you. Bye bye.